All right, thank you, Spiros. Good morning from my side as well. I'm Kostas Andriosopoulos. I'm the past chairman of the Hellenic Association for Energy Economics. We have started this endeavor with Spiros a few years ago, and now it's becoming a reality. I don't want to keep you long because we need to keep a tight schedule, but I'm obliged to thank, first of all, the whole team of the association that has been working for the past 2 months tirelessly to be able to pull this out and to make sure that everything is properly organized. So big thank you to Evi, to Alexia, to Pella, to Georgia, to many other people that they have all coordinated, collaborated strongly with the academic team, the board of the association, and the International Association for Energy Economics. And a special thank you as well to our chairman and to David Williams for the support and the trust that he showed to our team that we can make this a reality. We have a long 3 days ahead of us in terms of schedule. We have topics that are covering the whole spectrum of everything that has been said so far. Unprecedented times that we live in. That's definitely a reality, not only for Europe that we are experiencing a lot of issues lately, as you all know, but for the whole globe. So the energy transition, I guess, it's here, is there to stay. We need to only accelerate. This is the only message, I guess, that we should be discussing and trying to address in the best possible way the famous energy trilemma, because now than ever we are talking about energy security, which is utmost priority, as we see for many countries. Affordability, because electricity prices and costs have gone through the roof. So, this is the number one thing now that every citizen is actually worried about, and the same for industries. And of course, sustainability. So anything that leads us to this green transition, I think, is the best thing that we could ever have thought of in terms of policy making, investments, etc. So without keeping any longer, I think I will give the floor not to Spiros. I can make the introduction. We would have had also Fatih Birol with us. Unfortunately, as you can understand, the way things are evolving, it has been impossible for him to attend the conference physically here in Athens, even though he has confirmed his participation some time ago, and he really supports the association, the job that we do. But he is sending us this video that I think, after seeing it myself, it encompasses, encapsulates, all of these main changes that we have discussed. So, without further ado, I will have the Secretary General of the International Energy Agency, Dr. Fatih Birol, on the video. Thank you.
Dear friends, greetings from Paris. I am truly sorry not to be able to attend in person, but I wish to extend my thanks to the International Association and Hellenic Association for Energy Economics for their kind invitation. Let me start to commend Greece and its government for the great attention and dynamism in looking for solutions to ensure reliability in Greek energy system while trying to alleviate the burden on its citizens. Only recently, I had the privilege to discuss these issues in length with Prime Minister Mitsotakis and his government, and the IEA remains at disposal of the Greek government, Greek citizens, as a valued member of the International Energy Agency. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have said a few times, we are in the middle of the first global energy crisis. Our world has witnessed several energy crises, but we have never ever went through such a crisis with its depth and with its complexity. And this is affecting almost everybody in this planet, but I am in fact especially concerned for those who are living in the developing part of our planet. We see the energy crisis in oil markets, gas, electricity, coal, everywhere. In terms of oil, high oil prices are affecting everybody, almost every economy, especially importing countries' economies. And here, there is a job for the oil exporting countries to maintain and, if possible, increase the production from their existing resources in order to provide comfort for the markets. But also for the consuming nations, it is time to save oil in transportation sector and the rest of the economy. In terms of gas markets, we are going through very difficult times, especially in Europe, and it is time to save gas, heating at home, electricity generation, and industry. Some of you may remember 24th of February was the day that the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Only 1 week later, 1st of March, International Energy Agency came up with a plan, a 10-point plan, how Europe could find solutions to reducing the Russian gas imports while at the same time have a secure winter. And I'm very happy to see that some of our measures we have suggested, ranging from saving gas use for heating home, to accelerate the penetration of renewables, or postponing the shutting down of nuclear power plants, are considered and in most cases accepted and implemented by governments. Dear colleagues, it will be a difficult winter in Europe and in most part of the northern hemisphere. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you about 3 points, in fact, 3, in my view, mistaken ideas how people interpret the current energy crisis. The first one is, some people think that the recent uptick increase in the Russian oil revenues is a victory for Russia, and Russia is winning the energy battle. I think this is a myopic view. Dear colleagues, Russia is losing. It is by far the largest and longest serving client in the energy markets. Just on 24th of February, about 55% of the Russian oil went to Europe, and 75% of the Russian gas exports went to Europe. And Russia is losing this largest, by far the largest market, I think, forever. And Russia's reliability as an energy partner is under question now in the entire world. And we also see that the Russian oil and gas development would need a lot of international technological expertise, capital, and Russia will not be able to have access to that in order to develop its oil and gas fields in the next years to come. So from that point of view, saying that Russia is winning the energy battle, in my view, is a mistaken idea. The second mistaken idea is that, again, some colleagues are thinking that the current crisis is a clean energy crisis. I think this is also wrong, absolutely wrong. When I talk with policymakers around the world, nobody tells me that they have this crisis because they have too much clean energy. Just the opposite. Many of them regret that they have not pushed the clean energy, solar, wind, nuclear power, electric cars, much strongly than they had in the past. So I believe the lasting solutions to energy crisis go through having much more clean and secure energy technologies. And saying that the clean energy is responsible for the energy crisis, intentionally or not, helping the main responsible actor here for the energy crisis, Russia, moving away from the spotlights. This is something also to be noted. The third mistaken idea, in my view, today in the current international energy and climate debate is that the current crisis, energy crisis, make reaching our climate goals even much more difficult. I don't think so. I believe current energy crisis may even accelerate the clean energy transition. When I look around the world, countries not only making plans and strategies, programs, they are pouring money, investments, incentives to clean energy technologies. In the United States, Inflation Reduction Act, the largest act in terms of its size, means that we will see in the largest economy of the world will accelerate the clean energy innovation and technologies. Wind, solar, hydrogen, nuclear power, carbon capture and storage, all of them will be accelerated. In Europe, we have a major plan, Repowering. In Japan, recently announced green transformation will push nuclear power, but also hydrogen and other clean energy technologies. China, reaching its targets and going beyond that. India, a major energy efficiency act which passed the parliament only a few days ago will give a big boost to efficiency improvement in the buildings, in addition to India's achievements in terms of renewable energies. So I believe current energy crisis and response to that may well be a turning point in the history of energy policy around the world, as we have seen in 1970s, the response to the oil crisis and the energy efficiency, nuclear power, clean energy technologies growing very strongly. So, dear colleagues, yes, this winter in the Northern Hemisphere will be a difficult one, but I believe after winter, spring is coming to the energy world. We will see acceleration of clean energy in all parts of the world and hope to see that the new energy economies will be part of this acceleration process. I thank you very much to all of you from Paris. Yasu.
Zoom, an online discussion with Aristotelis Chantavas, who is now in Brussels, I believe. Aristotelis is the head of Europe area for Enel Green Power, and also he's the president of SolarPower Europe. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
So we are practically starting the academic part of the conference, the plenary session, the first discussion that we'll be having, and as we're really running out of time, so I would like to ask you a couple of questions, Mr. Chantavas. So the first one will be, what is, in your opinion, the present and future of the energy synergy in Europe? How do you see it from your perspective?
I think we all know, we all see what we experience. The whole energy sector, together with the governments, are trying to face this, I would say, unprecedented situation. The war revealed these risks that we have by being dependent on, let's say, imported fossil fuels that provide energy for our citizens. And that's how this energy crisis has started. it's important also to remember that the real root cause for this is that our hesitance made us not to turn on time towards renewables, because the technology is here since at least a couple of decades, but we were not ambitious enough to promote policies to accelerate the deployment of renewables in our continents, in our country. So this is probably the root cause that we face such a risky situation today. Of course, Europe is trying to react. There is a new target of 45% of renewables by 2030. This means around 750 gigawatts of solar, which are, let's say, instructed by the European Solar Strategy. I think Brussels are now starting to getting more active, but the challenge is still here.
Okay, a big discussion is about our winter and the following winter, and discussion about potential energy blackouts throughout Europe or some specific countries. So what do you think about it? Do you think that we should really start thinking about going off electricity for big periods of throughout the day?
I think that definitely the winter will be tougher than usual. It's not going to be like the winters we have been, let's say, used to so far. On the other hand, it's true that the government starts getting more active. We will need to implement several energy efficiency measures from the public sector to the private houses. There need to be incentives also for reducing consumption. On the other hand, you know that the implementation of such broad-scale measures is always very tricky. So the good thing is that the tanks are at adequate levels, and also several governments have reactivated some alternatives like coal-fired plants, which may also bring some more stability. So I wouldn't be really worried of having, let's say, extreme situations with continuous blackouts. Maybe I would be more worried about 24 winter rather than 23, which is going to be based on what's going to happen at the geopolitical level in the coming months. So I think that no matter what will happen this winter, it's very important to move to the directions that we already said. A faster deployment of renewables. There are no excuses anymore. We need to go much faster in permitting and implementation, in let's say, incentivizing new installations. And at the same time, a very important topic is the reshoring of EU manufacturing strategy, because most of the equipment, materials are imported today. I think now we have the chance as a continent to reshore the industry, to start producing equipment, panels, and different other materials in Europe. And I think we have a great opportunity ahead of us.
Okay, I think that we have really failed in Europe to predict, the energy scenery. I think that what has been proven. I don't know how can we do it. I think we really need to act and start to program our actions for the long term. How do you think, how can Enel foster digitalization, which is something that is very crucial for our energy future, and also decarbonization in Europe? And also, what is the view of SolarPower Europe for how can solar energy really increase the share in terms of photovoltaics and also solar thermal systems?
No, adding on top to what you said, of course, Europe was very late. Europe is very bureaucratic, very complicated. I'm now in Brussels and I'm trying to go through different topics of interest. On the other hand, when was needed, and especially recently with the COVID pandemic, Europe acted massively and very quickly in order to protect the people. And I think that now in this energy crisis, this could be our example. I mean, we need to act, we need to formulate the directives and different regulations accordingly and make the decisions for our future. Enel is one of the biggest utilities in the world. We have 1,200 generation plants in 5 continents. And we are maybe the utility that is also leading by example. I mean, since at least 15 years, we have turned massively into renewables. We have more than 55 gigawatts of renewables now around the world. And it's our commitment to initiate, and we already started implementing decarbonization in our fleet around, let's say, Europe and in other continents. We still have too much reliance on gas. It's true, in our continent and also in Greece, specifically in our country. And especially in a country like Greece, where we have an abundance of resources, it's really a pity to still rely on imported fuels. We could be 100%, let's say, supplied by electricity that is produced and generated only in Greece. I think that we have a golden opportunity today to accelerate storage systems, ideas for repowering of existing assets, and also utilizing space by hybridizing projects, by installing together wind, solar technologies together with storage. I think are ideas that really are, let's say, about to be implemented and have to be implemented. Even yesterday evening, we got, as an association, SolarPower Europe, an urgent request by Commission to propose by next week urgent measures that can accelerate the deployment. This will include rooftops, this will include, let's say, accelerating the construction time, the supply chain. So I think that Europe has realized, the governments have realized the situation. Now it's in our hands to be able to install what is needed to protect our citizens for next winter.
Okay, to conclude with our discussion, I would like your view for the quick outlook of the energy scenario in Greece.
Yes, I think that, as we said, I mean, in Greece, we were lucky enough to enter renewables 30 years ago. Unfortunately, we didn't go as fast as we could, in my view. On the other hand, I think that today we already realize the direction we need to follow. So I think that the priority should be, from now on, the country to find innovative and attractive investment schemes for serious investors. It's important to rely on serious investors that can drive the investments in renewables in the market and be able to bring the results that we all are looking forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chantavas. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your views, for your insights, and I'm really thankful for participating in our conference.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a good conference. Thank you.
So I will give the
Okay, we can have our panelists here, Ms. Sdoukou, Mr. Karidas, Mr. Kapelos, Mr. Yaredis, I think you're, yes, I see you there, perfect. Here. Εδώ. Πήγαινε εκεί εδώ. So, for the sake of time as well, we are running a little bit late. We can start immediately. Our panel is repowering the EU energy sector by 2030. This is the main topic, let's say, the theme of our discussion. And it's an honor to have the representation of the Greek government and the Ministry of Energy and Environment with the Secretary General, Ms. Sdoukou. to whom I will give the floor immediately, and then I will be introducing one speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Andriosopoulos. First of all, let me say a warm welcome to all those people who traveled from abroad to be here today. I hope you enjoy your staying. I hope you have a productive discussions. Mr. Andriosopoulos, okay, and something else. Let's not forget, despite what is happening, that all those people that are involved in the energy sector are very lucky people. They are lucky because they're never getting bored in the energy sector, first of all. And secondly, given that energy is so vital in our life, I think that it's really challenging and fascinating that it's on us, actually, on all us, all stakeholders to shape, the future and the energy transformation. As an introduction, I think that Dr. Fatih Birol captured on a very pragmatic way the state of play. And I'm fully aligned with what he said. We are all following, of course, with concern what is happening in Europe now. A war that seems to upscale. I wish it's not, but it has important repercussions also in the energy sector. Energy has always been a geopolitical tool, but what we are experiencing now is really unprecedented. And it's true that we have had a difficult winter. The European Union is preparing itself to meet this challenge. The European Union is preparing with emergency measures in the field of energy prices and energy conservation. We heard 2 weeks ago a new package of proposals. Some months ago there was another package of proposals and regulations regarding energy reduction. Greece, let me say that is proud in a way to be a prime mover, I would say, to this direction. What I mean with this, I mean that we are already applying in Greece in the last couple of months a set of measures that now serve as a prototype, if I could say, for the whole Europe. I saw the title of your conference today, which is The Future of Global Energy Systems, and I think that it could not be more representative of the strategic choices we have to discuss here and take decisions in order to face this challenge. And the challenge, of course, is to make an energy system in terms of supply and a market operation that is obviously more resilient to the geopolitical tooling and exploitation. But let's not forget simultaneously our long-term objective, which is a carbon-free economy. In this effort, of course, there are a lot of details to be addressed. We are working in close collaboration with all stakeholders in Greece, but also within European Union. We make a lot of international partnerships with other countries and governments. We are listening to every good idea and proposal. Of course, there are national constraints, and I'm referring, for example, to the constraints of the national budget or the debt that have to be taken into account. For example, we don't want, and we are not going to do this to jeopardize the economic stability of the country and the achievements also of the last few years. But I want also to keep the optimism that Fatih Birol showed. We're not alone in this effort. We have, first of all, the Recovery and Resilience Program, the fund, which is a major opportunity for the countries to accelerate the green transition. the RRF is providing financial resources for this transformation. If we want ultimately to become independent of the Russian energy supplies. Here, allow me to say that Greece wants to be a success story in how efficiently it's going to implement all these projects that are included under the RRF program. Time is of essence. We are supposed to complete all the projects within the RRF by 2025. So we have to be very concentrated on this effort. And as you know, from all the budget that Greece has for the RRF, 30% of them is allocated for green projects, for the green transformation. So it's very important for the ministry, for the human resources, for all professionals who are involved in this, to stay focused on achieving and delivering all the ideas and all the projects we have included. And of course, no matter what is happening today, I understand that it's very important to continue also on behalf of the Greek government to protect consumers and enterprises from the energy prices. But at the same time, there is a creative, as I call it, part, and the creative part is to complete all the energy strategy. And we have also the Repowering, which again I think is a new opportunity. This is also, we have continuing discussions with the European Commission to see how we can formulate also a Repower EU program in Greece. This is under preparation at the ministry. We aim to include also their actions and also programs and infrastructure projects that also they have to be undertaken by the end of 2025. So this is where we are at this moment. Yes, I agree that the winter will be difficult, but I also keep the optimism of Fatih Birol that there is a spring afterwards. So if we work very hard, all of us, the governments, the stakeholders, I think we will be able to achieve ultimately the goals we have set as governments.
Thank you very much. A very comprehensive setting of the scene of what is taking place now. I will give the floor to Mr. Yannis Yaredis. He is the CEO and chairman of the Renewable Energy Market Operator, if I may say in brief, for our guests as well. Crucial role that the organization has to play, especially in this environment of supporting and subsidization as well to the consumers. So, Mr. Yaredis, the floor is yours.
First of all, thank you for calling me this conference. It's always interesting what we are discussing in such conferences, and congratulations for the organizers. Secondly, what to say after what Ms. General Secretary Ms. Sdoukou said before. I would like to point out two topics. First of all, the way forward, as we call Repowering EU. The way forward has to pass through a difficult situation which we all living this period. And this is the results, the outcome, the situation which is after this terrible war in Ukraine, and what this energy crisis has created. And I'm here to say that I am honored to lead the company, the PEP, the company who has two difficult roles. First, this period is to drive the Energy Transition Fund, which is the main tool for the state to overcome all these difficulties. And I would like to point out this, that we are close to 5 billion for the time being, and all this amount of money went to the consumers, not only to households but also to industry, in order to overcome to this difficult situation. And to this point, I would like to say that this word energy transition is very close connected with renewables, because driving to the 2030, we have to go to a very difficult way in order to install, in order to have more renewables in our country. And the way to this point is, let me say, not only difficult, but has to pass through this difficult economic situation. Having said that, I believe that we are close to 10 gigawatts at this period, and we hope to be within to 15 gigawatts, very close, because looking at the records in our company, we have already signed contracts for almost 5 gigawatts, which are, let me say, on the construction, and they are waiting to be energized within the next 2 years. I would like to say something more on this. We have to understand that renewables are the main tool for having this zero-emission planet within 2050. Of course, we have to pass through intermediate situation with gas. They call gas as the bridge, but mainly we have to focus on renewable in this way forward. And I have to say that we believe that right now, this moment, these years, the state, I'm not talking about specifically for this government, but I'm talking about the state efforts for this year, for next years, have to focus on this renewable expansion. And we are here to help and support the state. We are a state company, and we are here to help and support this effort.
Thank you, Mr. Yaredis. And I will now move to Mr. Sotiris Kapellos, Chief Operating Officer and Board Member of Hellenic Energy since 2 days ago, and leading the renewable energy sector unit of the group. So, Sotiri.
Okay, I will try to briefly to present some facts. What happened with the two consecutive crises that we have, global crises. One was the pandemic, and the second was the energy crisis, which followed the first one. COVID-19 created a disruption of the supply chain. This led to the increase of the raw materials and the equipment for renewables, and also the transportation. This happened 1.5 2 years ago. This contributed to the increase of the cost of investment and also the increase of the cost of the raw materials. After that, we had consecutively the increase of the problem and the crisis of the invasion of Ukraine, which led the prices of the cost of electricity and natural gas to heights that unprecedented heights. Now, renewables proved resilient to the first crisis, and they keep to be resilient. But where we are right now, we have an increased cost of investment for two reasons. One is the cost of the equipment. The second thing is the transportation, and the second thing is the increase of the interest rates has led also to the increase of the cost of financing. Does that mean that we have a problem in the continuation of renewables? No. Why? Because, and this is the opportunity, it has been proved that renewables is the solution to the energy crisis because of the low cost of energy production compared to the fossil fuels. So, but in order to increase the penetration of renewables, we need to solve the challenge of the intermittency of production of renewables, and this can be done by introducing storage. And storage is something which has just started even in Europe and in Greece, and we have a long way in order for storage to cope with the intermittency. That's why, as Mr. Yaredi said, the production from LNG has been the bridge, along with the hydro production and the imports of energy. So, in order to conclude, renewables, of course, is the future. There are challenges, there are opportunities, and the opportunity is that renewables have been accelerated because of the crisis, and also all governments and the EU are continuously believing in renewables more than what it has been in the past. So there is a great future for renewables. There are challenges, and I think we have to be optimistic. In the next years, we will have other opportunities like green fuels and hydrogen, and we already have started electromobility. There are challenges there as well, but when there is a need, the necessity pushes humanity to find solutions. And with this, I would like to close my first introduction.
Thank you, Sotiris. Very interesting. The closing remark that you made, that we are living through this unprecedented times, that they require unprecedented moves and actions from our part as well, and I think we will be able to make it through. I will pass the floor now to Mr. Yannis Karidas, the Chief Executive Officer of the Renewables and Battery Storage Business Unit of the Kopoulos Group. Mr. Karidas.
Thank you, Mr. Andriosopoulos. Thank you also the organizers for the kind invitation and the organization of this conference. I will start from the ending sentence of Mrs. Sdoukou that she's optimistic. Definitely, we are all optimistic because I think despite the severe crisis that we are facing and the problems that this creates, especially in the financial environment, and also the creation of inflation and the cause of increase of price for raw materials. However, also this represents an excellent opportunity for our country. And I believe today our country has the momentum to exploit this opportunity that we have, because first of all, we do have the knowledge, we do have the experience, we do have as a country all the resources to implement a vast number of renewable energy projects, not only for within the conventional technology like onshore wind and solar, but also for new technologies like the offshore wind parks, and also anticipating the implementation of further modern technologies like green hydrogen and ammonia in the further future. Number two, obviously, as Mrs. Sdoukou said, we also have the support of the RRF and also the recent framework that the European Commission is trying to formulate, the Repowering, where they will include projects that will help Europe accelerate not only the energy transition, but also to achieve its independence from the Russian natural gas. Number three, we do have as country a number of projects that will help not only help the country accelerate the energy transition, but also help reduce the cost, and also will play a very important geopolitical role and upgrade the presence of the country in the region and help the country to become a very strong green energy hub in the region. So definitely we are optimistic. Of course, working with all stakeholders, the majority of them support the implementation of renewable energy sources. There are parts where we believe that we need to convey the right messages, like the fact that renewable energy projects is the only way that we can proceed, is the only way we can reduce the energy cost. And I do hope that the difficulties that we expect we will face during the coming winter will be the last one, and from the next year, by the implementation of new projects, the situation in the energy market at least in Greece will be much better. I hope we'll have the time later on to discuss about important projects that will strengthen the geopolitical position of Greece. And as a group, we are investing heavily in renewable energy sources, and we hope that also will accelerate the implementation of the new battery energy storage systems. And also, the penetration of renewable energy sources will come in parallel with the acceleration of the upgrade of the infrastructure, of the network. We're all facing today significant delays in receiving new connection terms. So this is an issue that we expect it will happen in the near future to help further investments in renewable energy sources. And also its digitalization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karidas. I will grab the opportunity from the last point that you made to make maybe an open question to the panel. That indeed we hear acceleration. Fatih, Birol said it. You probably all mentioned it in your addresses. We need to move faster in terms of implementing new green energy projects, renewable energy projects. But we need infrastructure, and infrastructure needs to be there. And at the same time, you have the policy making that sets the scene. And we have seen 3 years ago an effort from the European Union to start collecting the national energy and climate plans of each country. We have had the target. I'm not referring to the Greek case, given that Ms. Sdoukou is here, but every single European member state has a target. Then these targets were revised 6 months later. Then a few months later, after we passed through the COVID crisis and we started fearing about what may happen with Russia, we started hearing that we need to push for the green energy deal. Then the war happened and we had new targets. And even last week, Ms. von der Leyen set new targets, higher targets. And every new target that is being set is always higher and higher in terms of penetration of renewable energy systems. And I will close with this. Is infrastructure and those that are leading the infrastructure, let's say, plans for the following years, thinking as they should, or they are considering that renewables and energy systems will be operating as they used to for the past 50, 60, 70 years that were very, very slow in terms of adaptation. We need to adapt much faster. So if we have a target, then I will use the Greek case of 28 gigawatt of installed capacity by 2030. Shouldn't this be maybe 34, 35, 40 gigawatt? Why not? I mean, if we are planning to export, if we are planning to move into a system where it can be 80, 90%, renewable system, should we be setting more ambitious targets and try then for the rest of the industry to follow? Because investors seems they are running ahead of us. We have many more projects in the pipeline than what we even possibly may need, but can we accommodate most of it? That's the question
you're asking. It's not an easy answer and not an easy exercise. Mr. Andriosopoulos, I will remind to you that when Greece formulated its National Energy and Climate Plan back in 2019, we were one of the most, we had one of the most ambitious plans, right, in comparison to various others within European Union. And we did this on purpose. 3 years ago, and we are happy that we did this because we had the time, to design it, and already 3 years later, we are in a position of saying that many of these things that were included in our national plans are already under implementation. But of course, in the meantime, within these 3 years, a lot of things have happened. You're right. We had the European Green Deal. We had the Fit for 55 package. We had new documents and regulations, legislative packages coming from the European Commission. And in the meantime, of course, we had the pandemic. Following that, it was the recovery plan, now the war. So there is an evolving situation here, and although, I'm president of this interministerial committee that has the task to update the national plan. Legally, we have to do this within 2023, but as you know, a few months ago, we have started this discussion within the committee, how fast forward we can move in our policies, and how we have to change again the targets we have set, because the point is not just putting numbers in a document. The point is how you achieve these numbers. It would be very easy to change the number of 10 gigawatt of installed capacity that we want by 2030 and make it 20 or 30. But at the same time, you must have the plan, how you will go there and how you achieve. This is what we are doing. This is a constant work inside the ministry, but also in cooperation with various other ministries, because this is a national effort. You cannot reach to climate neutrality alone, as focusing only on the energy sector. There are several other aspects. We will be able to present a first draft in some time from now, although the exercise of putting more ambitious targets is a difficult one, because you have to take into account the current situation, and within this current situation, we are also obliged in Greece, for example, to use lignite power plants, which was, against the initial targets that we had set back in 2019 when we had decided to shut down the lignite plants. And now, under these urgent circumstances, we are obliged to do whatever it is for the interest of the country. And the interest of the country, instead of importing natural gas and paying a lot of money there, is to use the lignite for the time being, for I hope a short period of time. And this is why the government decided to double the extraction of lignite from 5 to 10. So there are several aspects there, and of course you're right. what is needed for us is to accelerate renewables penetration in Greece. You know that during these 3 years, we've made a lot of effort to help the investments by changing the regulatory frameworks, by omitting obstacles, regulatory obstacles, referring especially in the permitting, by digitalizing these procedures in order to help all these investments being materialized. We're very concerned regarding the technical constraints of the grid, and you know very well that we are in constant discussions with HEDNO and IPTO in order to facilitate them also as a government in order from their side to accelerate connection terms or upgrading in their grids, do whatever is human possible so that we have this parallel situation. On the one hand, be able to fulfill the targets we have set, and at the same time make more investments also in the grids in order to match the targets with the technical aspects, of the grid. Again, I will say that it's not an easy work, but if you see during these 3 years what Greece has managed to do in the energy sector, I think that the energy landscape has completely changed within these 3 years. And for me, the following 2 years is actually a turning point. If we will be able to complete all the projects that we have in our mind in the next 2 years, then the energy landscape for Greece will be completely different in 2025, and I'm sure that we will get there.
We also hope so, that we will be able to make it. I will go to Mr. Karidas because we heard about storage, interconnections. We understand that you would like to say a few words about another big geopolitical project that we have under discussion lately. So,
yes, one project that our group has been developing for the last. The vision started back in the year 2008, but due to various changes in Egypt, the project delayed. The project refers to the electrical interconnection between Egypt and Greece for the transfer of 3,000 megawatts of green energy. Such green energy will be produced by solar, wind, and possibly hydro in Egypt. By transferring these 3,000 megawatts of green energy, we can replace 4.5 billion cubic meters on an annual basis of natural gas. And we understand that this is an important tool, not only to Greece, but also for the neighboring European countries to achieve independence from fossil fuels and also from Russian natural gas, which is the #1 problem today in Europe. The second important thing is that such project will strengthen the geopolitical position of Greece, will strengthen its sovereign rights in the territorial waters, and also of its exclusive economic zones. The routing of the submarine cable has been very carefully selected in order to avoid sea areas that may create tension. And the important also thing is that the energy that will be transferred from Egypt to Greece will be at a cost much lower than today. Green energy can be found in Europe. Why is this important? Because the Greek industry will become even more competitive, so they can achieve and gain export advantages. Energy can be exported to Italy and Bulgaria, and also part of the green energy will be used for the production of green hydrogen, assuming obviously that the technology will advance in the next few years, so we can solve all safety and other problems and be ready to produce green hydrogen for a large number of users, such as mobility, etc. We understand that projects of this kind show the strategic direction that today Europe must move towards the achievement of energy safety and energy differentiation. Because today the problem that Europe faces is that Europe has not foreseen the problem and did not take any measures to differentiate the sources of energy and especially sources of green energy. So this kind of project like the electrical interconnection will support Europe by providing different source of green energy. The project has a capex, an estimated capex of more than 3 billion euro. We're speaking of a submarine cable with a length of around 950 kilometers that will land directly to Attica in 2 different points to avoid local congestion. The Untitled project, which is heavily supported also by the Egyptian government, because Egypt, having undertaken a very ambitious plan to implement close to 61 gigawatts of renewable energy by year 2035, sees this interconnection as its real connection with Europe via Greece. This project is important to Greece. We understand that by its implementation, our country will gain strength in its geopolitical position and will become, as I said, a hub of green energy in the southeastern Mediterranean. And also, the project is very important for Europe.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Sotiri, even the group not only changed its name with Hellenic, I mentioned earlier, but with IQ at the end, which signals, I guess, the new era. And, as a group, you have invested in the largest solar park in Greece, among the largest in Europe, of more than 200 megawatt of a single project. So this gives us a signal of, what is the trend and the strategy of all energy, groups around Europe, around the world. Would you like to comment anything based on this and my initial comment?
Yeah, it's known that more than 10 years ago, major oil companies have tried to transform to become energy companies because they could foresee that oil is going to, in the next years and the next decades, to be less, the societies are going to be less dependent on oil. So we follow this trend as well, and we transform our group from a previously oil group to an energy group, which means that we have a strategy of decreasing of energy efficiency, producing greener products, and also investing heavily on renewables. And all this is being done under the umbrella of digitalization, and the target is to decrease our CO2 footprint 50% by 50% compared to 2019, and have a portfolio of operating renewables 1 gigawatt in 2026 and 2 gigawatt in 2030. So this is where we're going. Oil is going to play a role for a few decades more, but a role that is going to continuously decrease. And renewables and other energy sources, greener sources, are going to play the major role in our societies. So with respect to the previous question, whether the new energy, the new renewables are going to remain the same as they have been previously, which means we have producers of renewable energy and we have the grid which absorbs the energy. So whatever is being produced by the green producers is going to be absorbed no matter what. So this was the model, and this is the model that is going to be applied with respect to the last ministerial decree of 13 gigawatt. But in order to meet the targets that the EU and our country is always increasing with respect to the penetration of renewables, we have to think smart and more innovative, which means we cannot remain to this idea that whatever is being produced is going to be absorbed. So we have to have more smartly producing renewable energy, which means with a means of storage that will infuse the energy to the system when the system needs this energy. So this is going to save money from new infrastructure, which for sure is being needed. We need infrastructure for new projects in order to be connected to the grid, but we can decrease this investment cost by using more smart energy production and using standalone batteries to absorb the energy wherever there is a congestion of energy, and also the producers not to produce energy when there is abundant in the system. So this is where we should go. And another thing which is, and I will close with this, is the self-consumption. Self-consumption is something very important and crucial, and because of the crisis, the applications for net metering and self-consumption have been tremendously increased, which is very good for the market and also for the system, because we go to a decentralized production, but this self-consumption should not remain as a source of self-consumption where the system plays the role of the battery. I think self-consumption should be combined with batteries, and for that the ministry could subsidize batteries and not subsidize photovoltaics, as it has been announced. With photovoltaics and self-consumption that do not need subsidization right now, because if you invest a system, you can have the payback period is, with the prices that we have now, is 3 years and maybe less. So there is no need for subsidization for a system that it's the old photovoltaic investment. But we need a system which is a smart system, which absorbs when there is a surplus of energy, and mainly could not infuse energy at all to the system. It could be an island that could produce its own energy, and only when it needs more power and more energy than what it's been produced by itself, it could only absorb from the system. So this is something that the ministry should consider, not to subsidize PV systems, net metering PV systems, but batteries with PV systems.
Thank you. I will, for the sake of our time as well, we don't have a lot of time for our panel, but we can have the closing remark from Mr. Yaredis.
Thank you, Kostas. I would like to grasp the opportunity to say something about what we said before. Ms. Sdoukou said about lignite. And there are people in our country which having this situation, different situation, they are saying that it was a wrong decision from the government. It was a wrong decision taken by the government to accelerate the lignite production, removing lignite production. I could say that it was a correct decision, and the government received this decision at the correct time. What was wrong was the delay in renewables expansion. And I have to say that within the 5 years between 2015 and 2019, we have just 500 new contracts 500. And since 2019 till today, we have 5,000, 10 times more. And this is giving a very good point to say that the expansion of renewables was delayed from the previous years. We are now running very well, and we hope to go much better. Of course, there are problems with infrastructure, but I know very well that IPTO and HEDNO, they are doing their best to build new network, new system, and I hope to have much more renewable energy sources within the next few years. And I would like to close with the point of hydrogen and storage. Of course, we have to defend the situation right now, but we have not to forget hydrogen and storage, because they are in front of us, and we have to run very, very, very tightly to this project, the plan which already done by the Ministry of Energy. And I would like to close with one sentence that the targets without plan remain just a wish. So we have to work very, very close for doing a very good plan for the next years.
Thank you, Yannis. Please join me in thanking our panelists for the excellent remarks. And we will now pass to the next panel, and I will call Professor Bolino to chair the session.